Imagine this. You're standing at the edge of an ancient celestial courtroom where the very fabric of the universe trembles. Every breath you take is heavy with the weight of divine secrets, and the silence is so profound, it feels as though the cosmos itself is holding its breath. Above, the sons of God, celestial beings entrusted with the power to govern the heavens, are watching. Among them, HaSatan, the accuser, does not bear the horns of the villain we often picture. No, he is an officer, a legal figure, bound by cosmic law, tasked with testing the integrity of the righteous. But here's the shocking truth. What if the suffering you know, the very pain that echoes in the story of Job, is not just a random tragedy, but a cosmic test with a purpose far beyond human comprehension? What if, behind every moment of suffering, there is a greater divine debate unfolding in the heavens? A conversation between gods, a cosmic wager over the endurance of the human spirit itself. For centuries we have been fed a narrative of suffering as punishment. But could it be that suffering is more than just a consequence? Could it be a divine experiment, a celestial trial, where the stakes are higher than we ever imagined? In this video, we will uncover the forbidden knowledge hidden within the book of Job, knowledge that has been overlooked, suppressed, and ignored. We will delve deep into the hidden realms of the Bible, revealing the unseen struggle between Enlil, the god of order, and Enki, the god of compassion. We will explore how these ancient beings may have influenced the divine drama of Job's suffering, and how their conflict mirrors the very battles we face in our own lives. What if Job's agony was not just about his faith, but about proving that humanity's devotion could withstand the most unimaginable trials under the watchful eyes of the divine court? What if there are forces at play that you've never been taught? Forces that reshape the very meaning of suffering, faith, and divine justice. By the end of this journey, you will understand the true purpose of suffering. You will see the cosmic courtroom in a way that will forever change the way you view pain, purpose, and the divine plan behind every trial. You will discover why Job's suffering, his test of faith, was part of a much larger cosmic debate, one that still echoes through the corridors of the heavens today. Do you feel the weight of that truth? Can you sense the power that lies behind these ancient words? Stay with us, because we are about to reveal the truth that has been hidden in plain sight for millennia. A truth so powerful it will change the way you perceive your own struggles, and as we venture deeper into this celestial drama, remember this: you are not alone in your suffering. There are divine reasons behind it, and in those reasons, there lies a profound purpose. And if you've ever felt abandoned, remember that even Job's suffering was not without its end, and his restoration was beyond anything he could have imagined. Stay with us, for what you're about to uncover could transform your faith forever. Like, subscribe, and share this revelation with others who may be longing for the truth behind their pain. The celestial courtroom and the divine debate behind Job's suffering. Imagine standing at the very edge of a boundless courtroom, not like any courtroom you've ever imagined, but one where time and space bend and the weight of eternity lingers in every word spoken. Here, in this divine chamber, celestial beings watch with piercing eyes, their every move a reflection of the cosmic order. They are the sons of God, not born of flesh, but born of power, of authority over the heavens, and they carry the weight of governance over the universe itself. And there, in the center of this vast cosmic tribunal, stands HaSatan, not a demon, not an embodiment of evil, but a figure unlike anything you've been taught. He is the accuser, the prosecutor in the divine court, charged with the solemn task of testing the hearts and souls of the righteous. This is no mere courtroom drama. This is a battle of ideologies, of philosophies that shape not just the fate of a single man, but of humanity itself. At the heart of it lies Job, a man whose suffering, whose pain, transcends the boundaries of personal torment. It becomes a trial, not just of his faith, but of the very nature of human resilience. Why would God allow such suffering to befall a righteous man like Job? Is it simply punishment, or is there a deeper, more cosmic purpose at play? The answer, hidden in the folds of ancient wisdom, lies within this celestial debate. The clash between two divine forces. On one side we have Enlil, the god of trial, of discipline, a god who believes that loyalty cannot be proven in comfort. His philosophy is harsh, unforgiving, yet necessary for maintaining cosmic order. He believes that only through suffering can true devotion be revealed. On the other side stands Enki, the god of compassion, the guardian of humanity, who believes that refinement comes not through harsh trials, but through gentle nurturing, through the gift of knowledge and the care that nurtures the soul. It is within this cosmic tension that Job's suffering takes root. What unfolds is not simply a test of one man's faith, but the testing of an entire philosophy of divine justice. Job's pain is not the result of a malicious force, but a cosmic wager, a divine gamble that tests whether the human heart, when stripped of every earthly comfort, can still cling to its integrity. Job's suffering is a mirror, reflecting the raw, unfiltered truth of human existence. It shows us in the most brutal way that faith is not just about what we are given, but about what we choose to believe when everything is taken away. As Job endures unimaginable loss, his wealth, his health, his family, it is not just a punishment. It is a trial by fire, a refining process that forces him to confront the very nature of existence itself. Why does he not curse God? Why does he not break under the weight of his suffering? The answer lies within the divine courtroom. Job's heart, pure and steadfast, becomes the ultimate test for the gods themselves. Can loyalty endure when every blessing has been stripped away? Can the human spirit remain unbroken even when the very foundation of life is shattered? It is this celestial trial, this divine debate, that gives us a glimpse into the very fabric of the universe. Job's suffering is not just for his own sake. It is a reflection of the cosmic struggle, a struggle between two powerful forces, the harsh discipline of Enlil and the compassionate mercy of Enki. It is a battle over the soul of humanity, a test of whether we as humans can endure without the comforts of life and still find our way back to faith, to hope, to the love that sustains us. Job's journey is one that transcends time, a journey that each of us must face in our own way. How many times have you faced trials in your life, moments when everything seemed to crumble, when the weight of the world seemed unbearable? Have you ever questioned why you were made to endure such suffering? Like Job, many of us face challenges that make us wonder if there is any purpose in the pain we endure. But in Job's story, we find not just the agony of suffering, but the hope that there is a purpose, a higher reason, a divine order that governs even the darkest moments of our lives. This divine debate, this celestial courtroom, holds the key to understanding our own suffering. When we look at Job's story, we are reminded that pain, while excruciating, is not meaningless. It is not just a consequence of sin, nor is it a random occurrence. It is part of a larger, cosmic process. A process that leads to refinement, to growth, to a deeper understanding of the divine order. In the midst of his agony, Job becomes a symbol of human resilience. His unwavering faith, even in the face of overwhelming loss, shows us that there is something deeper at work. His suffering is not the end, but the beginning of a journey that will ultimately lead to restoration. It is this understanding, this deeper awareness of the cosmic forces at play, that allows us to see suffering through a new lens. It is not just about enduring pain, but about understanding that suffering is part of the divine plan, a plan that shapes us, refines us, and ultimately restores us. Just as Job was restored, not just in wealth but in wisdom and understanding, so too can we find restoration after our own trials. The key lies in our ability to endure, to trust in the divine plan, and to believe that even in our darkest moments, there is a purpose to our pain. The role of HaSatan, more than just an accuser, a celestial functionary. Now let's turn our attention to the figure of HaSatan. For centuries, we have been taught to view him as the embodiment of evil, the adversary, the source of all suffering. But what if this view is not only incomplete, but entirely wrong? What if HaSatan is not the villain we've been led to believe, but rather a figure of profound significance within the divine order? HaSatan, in the original Hebrew, is not a name, but a role, a function within the celestial bureaucracy. He is the accuser, a divine prosecutor, whose job is not to inflict harm, but to test the righteous. This is a crucial distinction. HaSatan does not act on his own accord. He is bound by divine law, tasked with ensuring that the human heart is tested, that its integrity is proven. When we understand this, we begin to see HaSatan not as the cause of suffering, but as the vehicle through which divine justice is carried out. In Job's case, HaSatan acts with permission granted by God himself. This alone reveals the profound truth that suffering, while painful, is not arbitrary. It is part of a greater plan, a plan that is overseen by the highest authority in the universe. This knowledge is both comforting and unsettling. It means that even in our darkest moments, when it seems like the world is falling apart, there is a greater purpose at work. And while we may not understand that purpose in the moment, we can take solace in the fact that it is part of a divine plan, a plan that is governed by justice, mercy. HaSatan's role as the accuser, the prosecutor in the celestial court, serves as a reminder that suffering is not an enemy to be fought, but a test to be endured. Just as Job was tested, so too are we tested in our lives. And in this testing, we have the opportunity to prove our integrity, our faith, and our devotion. It is in these moments of trial that our true character is revealed. And like Job, we are given the chance to rise above our circumstances and show the universe that even in the face of immense suffering, we can still hold on to our faith, our hope, and our love. In this divine drama, we are not alone. Just as Job was observed by the heavenly hosts, so too are we watched over by forces beyond our understanding. But these forces are not indifferent. They are part of a larger cosmic narrative, one in which our lives, our struggles, and our triumphs are all part of a greater divine plan. This understanding, while humbling, can also be incredibly empowering. It means that our pain is not meaningless. It means that our suffering has a purpose that is part of a larger story, a story that will one day lead to restoration and redemption. As we move forward, remember this: your suffering is not without purpose. Just as Job's story is one of pain and loss, it is also a story of restoration, of divine justice, and of ultimate redemption. And just as Job was restored, so too will we be. We are part of a larger cosmic plan, one that is beyond our understanding but ultimately leads to our restoration. Trust in this divine order and know that no matter what you face, there is a purpose in your pain. Let this knowledge heal you, empower you, and guide you through your own trials. The divine court may seem distant, but its justice is real, and its love is unwavering. Hold on, for your restoration is coming. The power of suffering. How Job's pain reflects the cosmic struggle for the human soul. Job's suffering is not just a tale of one man's tribulation. It is the echo of something much greater, the reverberation of a celestial battle that transcends time and space. His agony, so raw, so piercing, is a reflection of the cosmic struggle between two mighty forces, divine severity and divine mercy. These forces, embodied in the gods Enlil and Enki, are not just distant figures of ancient myth. They are the very principles that govern the way the universe works. One believes that loyalty is forged through hardship, that faith must be tested in the fires of suffering. The other believes that compassion is the true test of strength, that suffering can be averted with kindness, understanding and care. And in the midst of their clash stands Job, a man whose soul becomes the battlefield. What happens when you lose everything? When the universe itself seems to turn against you and the heavens remain silent in your darkest hour? This is the question Job faces, and it is the question that each of us must ask ourselves at some point in our lives. What happens when suffering knocks on your door and there is no way to turn it away? How do you respond when the pain seems endless and the answers you seek remain elusive? In the midst of his trials, Job does not curse God. He does not turn away from the divine, even when the weight of his suffering threatens to crush him. He stands firm, his faith unshaken, though his understanding of the universe is shaken to its very core. Job's response to his suffering is not one of resignation, but of defiance, a defiance that refuses to let go of the belief that there is a purpose to it all. His agony becomes the crucible in which his soul is refined, tested, and ultimately proven. This is the heart of the story. Job's suffering is not random. It is not a senseless punishment. It is part of a cosmic process, a process that reflects the divine struggle between these two forces. In the same way that gold is refined by fire, Job's soul is refined by pain. Each loss, each blow he suffers, is a step closer to his ultimate restoration. But this restoration is not just a return to the way things were. It is a transformation, a renewal, a rebirth. Job's suffering becomes the key to his ultimate victory, and in his victory, we find the message of hope that carries us through our own trials. The lesson here is not just about enduring pain, but about the purpose of that pain. In our own lives, when we face suffering, it is easy to believe that the universe has abandoned us, that there is no reason for the agony we endure. But Job's story teaches us that suffering is not without purpose. It is the means by which we are tested, refined, and ultimately restored. It is the process through which we come to know ourselves and our faith in a deeper, more profound way. And perhaps, most importantly, Job's story teaches us that suffering is not something to be feared. It is not the end, it is the beginning of a journey that leads to greater understanding, greater wisdom, and greater strength. Job did not emerge from his suffering as the same man who entered it. He was changed, renewed, transformed. And so too can we be, if we allow our suffering to shape us, if we allow it to teach us the lessons it has to offer. In the celestial debate between Enlil and Enki, between severity and mercy, Job becomes the battleground. But in the end, it is mercy that prevails. It is mercy that leads to restoration. Job's suffering was not meaningless. It was not without purpose. It was a means by which the universe tested his soul, and through that testing, he found his true strength. We too are tested in this way. We too are given the opportunity to prove our faith, to prove our resilience, to prove our devotion, and like Job, we will emerge stronger, more refined, and more capable of facing whatever comes our way. The cosmic gamble, the divine question of human faith and resilience. What is the true purpose of human suffering? Is it just a random act of cosmic cruelty, or is there something deeper at play, something more profound that we are not meant to see? These are the questions that arise as we contemplate the story of Job. His suffering is not just a personal tragedy, but a cosmic gamble, a divine test of humanity's resilience, faith, and loyalty. Job's story is a narrative of cosmic stakes. The gods, Enlil and Enki, are not just debating the fate of one man. They are debating the very nature of human faith, the ability of the human soul to endure suffering and remain true to its devotion. The wager is not over whether Job will curse God, but whether he will maintain his integrity when everything is stripped away. Will he stand firm in his faith, or will he break under the weight of his pain? This is the essence of the cosmic gamble, the belief that human faith, when tested to its limit, can endure. It is a test of the human spirit, a challenge that asks whether we can hold on to our integrity, our sense of purpose, even when the world around us falls apart. Job's response to this challenge is not one of resignation, but of determination. He refuses to give in to despair, refuses to abandon his faith, even when everything seems to be lost. The cosmic debate that rages between Enlil and Enki is not just a battle between two gods. It is a battle for the soul of humanity itself. Can we endure suffering and remain faithful? Can we withstand the trials of life and still believe in a greater purpose? Job's story is the answer to this question. It is the story of a man who faced the unimaginable and came through it not just unbroken, but transformed. In our own lives, we face this same test. We are often faced with trials that seem insurmountable, pain that feels unbearable, and loss that threatens to destroy us. But like Job, we are given the opportunity to prove our resilience, to show that our faith is not just a shallow belief, but a deep, unshakable conviction that can withstand the greatest storms. Job's victory is not just in his restoration, but in his unwavering ability to hold on to his integrity, to stand firm in the face of suffering, and to emerge from it stronger than ever. And like Job, we too can emerge from our trials not as victims, but as victors. We can allow our suffering to shape us, to refine us, and to transform us into something greater than we were before. The cosmic gamble, the divine question of human faith, is not just a test of whether we can endure pain. It is a test of whether we can use that pain to become the best version of ourselves, the version that is truly worthy of the divine restoration that awaits us on the other side. The cosmic forces at play in Job's story, the divine gamble between severity and mercy, are the forces that shape our lives as well. We are tested in the same way, and we too are given the chance to prove our resilience, our faith, and our devotion. The outcome of this test, however, is not just about our suffering. It is about our ultimate transformation, our restoration, and our ability to rise above the trials that we face. Just as Job was restored, so too can we be. And in that restoration, we will find the true meaning of our suffering, not as a punishment, but as a means of growth, refinement, and divine transformation. The whirlwind, divine revelation in the midst of Job's despair. There is a moment in every trial, a point in the darkness, when the storm seems endless. The wind howls, the earth trembles, and it feels as if everything you once believed in has been swept away. But in that very moment, a voice that rips through the fabric of the universe, speaks. The heavens themselves open, and the whirlwind of divine revelation takes form. Job, sitting in the ashes, covered in sores, his spirit crushed under the weight of his unimaginable losses, hears that voice. It does not come in whispers of comfort or words of sympathy, but in questions that pierce through the very soul of man. Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? The voice thunders. It is a question that is not meant to answer, but to reveal to Job the vastness of the divine plan, the scale of the universe, and the limitations of the human heart. To show him that his suffering, though profound, is part of a much larger, much grander tapestry. Imagine standing at the edge of the earth, looking out into the vast expanse of the cosmos. The stars are beyond counting, the planets too numerous to fathom, and the universe itself stretches out in a pattern so intricate, so breathtaking, that it leaves you breathless. And yet, in the midst of it all, here you are, a single, fragile soul, asking why. Why must you suffer? Why must you endure the unbearable? The whirlwind answers, not with explanations, but with a deeper question. A question that forces you to confront your place in the universe, to confront the very nature of your faith. This is the essence of divine revelation. It is not a quiet whisper, a gentle nudge. It is a force that shakes you to your core, a truth so powerful that it brings you to your knees. Job, in the whirlwind, is not comforted. He is not told why he suffers, but he is shown the vastness of the divine. He is shown that the universe, with all its suffering, has a purpose beyond human comprehension. That every moment of pain, every tear, every trial, is part of the divine plan, woven into the very fabric of creation. And in this revelation, Job's suffering begins to shift. It is no longer a random affliction, a senseless tragedy. It becomes a test, a part of the cosmic order, a challenge that will ultimately lead to his restoration. The whirlwind is not just a storm, it is a divine cleansing, a refining fire that prepares Job for what is to come. It is the moment when he is confronted not just by his own pain, but by the very nature of divine justice, of mercy, and of the cosmos itself. This moment in the whirlwind holds a powerful lesson for us all. In our own trials, when the storm seems unending and the darkness feels suffocating, we are not alone. We are not forgotten. The divine is with us, in the storm, in the pain, in the very midst of our suffering. And just as Job was tested, refined, and ultimately restored, so too will we be. The whirlwind is not a sign of abandonment. It is a sign of divine purpose, of cosmic alignment, of the deeper forces at work in our lives. Job's suffering, his trials, his pain, they are all part of the divine plan. And though we may never fully understand why we face the storms that we do, we can take comfort in the knowledge that the divine is present in our trials. That just as the whirlwind revealed to Job the vastness of the universe, so too can our suffering reveal to us the deeper truths of our existence. The whirlwind is not the end, it is the beginning of restoration. The restoration, divine transformation. After the trial, there is a moment after the storm, after the pain has subsided, when the world feels different. The air is calmer, the sky clearer, and the silence, once deafening, now holds a promise of something new. Job sits in the ashes, his skin still raw, his heart still grieving, but something has shifted. He has been tested, tried, refined, and now, in the wake of his suffering, he stands on the threshold of a divine restoration. The restoration of Job is not just about his material wealth being returned or his health being restored. It is about the transformation of his soul. It is the moment when the divine, having tested him, now rewards him with something far greater than he had before: understanding, wisdom, and a deeper connection with the divine. Job's restoration is not a simple return to the way things were. It is a rebirth, a divine renewal that goes far beyond his earthly possessions. Job's wealth is doubled, his health is restored, his family is returned to him. But these are not just the rewards of his endurance. They are symbols of the transformation that has taken place within him. Job is no longer the man he was before his trials. He is something more, something stronger, something wiser. The suffering that he endured has not destroyed him. It has refined him. It has given him the strength to stand in the face of the divine, to confront the mysteries of the universe, and to emerge from the storm stronger than ever before. This is the true nature of restoration. It is not about getting back what we have lost, but about being transformed through the trials we face. It is the process of becoming more than we were, of being shaped into something greater, something more aligned with the divine. Job's story is not just a story of suffering, it is a story of transformation, of becoming the person you were always meant to be, through the fires of trial and tribulation. And this transformation is not just for Job, it is for all of us. We all face suffering in our lives. We all face trials that seem unbearable, moments when we feel as though the storm will never end. But in those moments, we are given the opportunity to be refined, to be transformed, to become something greater than we were before. Just as Job's suffering led to his restoration, so too can our suffering lead to our own transformation. The key lies in our ability to endure, to trust in the divine process, and to believe that even in our darkest moments, there is a greater purpose at work. The restoration of Job is not just the end of his story, it is the beginning of something new. It is the beginning of a new understanding of the divine, a new understanding of the cosmic order, and a new understanding of our place within that order. And just as Job's life was restored, so too will our lives be restored, not just in the material sense, but in the spiritual, emotional, and intellectual sense. Our suffering has a purpose, and through it, we are transformed into the people we were always meant to be. Job's restoration is a promise that no matter how deep our suffering, no matter how dark the storm, there is always the possibility of divine transformation. And in that transformation, we find not just healing, but a deeper understanding of the divine, a deeper connection to the world around us, and a deeper sense of purpose that can carry us through whatever trials we may face in the future. This is the true power of suffering, not just to endure it, but to be transformed by it. And in that transformation, we find our true strength, our true purpose, and our true connection to the divine. In the quiet aftermath of our greatest trials, when the storm subsides and the air is still heavy with the remnants of what we've endured, we often find ourselves standing at the edge of something vast and unfathomable. It's in those moments when we can barely catch our breath from the weight of our suffering that the whispers of hope, of healing, seem impossibly distant. But as we stand on the precipice of despair, something incredible happens. We begin to see. We see that our pain, though excruciating, is not meaningless. It is a passage, a bridge, a refining fire that shapes us, molds us into something far greater than we could have ever imagined. This is the lesson of Job's journey. His suffering was not in vain. It was not a punishment, but a process, a cosmic trial designed to test the very foundation of his faith and integrity. You see, Job's story is not just one man's journey through grief and loss. It is the story of every soul that has ever faced hardship. It is the story of every person who has ever wondered if their pain would ever end, if their suffering would ever be understood. Job's struggle is our struggle. His battle with despair is our battle. And just as Job found restoration on the other side of his trial, so too will we. But restoration is not a simple return to what was lost. It is a transformation. It is the moment when the soul, battered and bruised from the storm, emerges renewed, stronger, and more connected to the divine than ever before. Job's wealth was restored, yes. His health was restored, absolutely. But what was even more remarkable was his renewed understanding of the divine, his deeper connection to the mysteries of the universe, and his greater sense of purpose. Job, like all of us, was tested, And in that testing, he became something more than he was before. And so, it is with each of us. We may not understand why we face the trials we do. We may not understand why the storm seems endless. But in the midst of it all, there is a divine purpose at work. Our suffering is not the end. It is the beginning of a new chapter. A chapter of growth, of healing, and of divine restoration. The darkest moments of our lives are not signs of abandonment, but opportunities for transformation. They are the fire through which we are refined, the crucible in which our true strength is revealed. If you are facing a storm right now, know this: you are not alone. The divine is with you, even in the darkest moments. And just as Job's suffering was part of a greater divine plan, so too is yours. Your pain, your struggle, your tears are not meaningless. They are part of your transformation, part of the process through which you will emerge stronger, wiser, and more connected to the divine than ever before. As you walk through your own trials, remember Job. Remember that suffering is not the end, but the beginning of something greater. And when you emerge from the storm, as you will find yourself standing in the light of divine restoration, renewed and transformed. Your strength, like Job's, will be tested, but it will also be rewarded. And when it is, you will understand that your suffering was never in vain. In this moment of transformation, I invite you to take a step towards healing. If this message has touched your heart, if it has brought light into the darkness of your soul, I ask you to share this energy. I ask you to support this work, to help us continue to spread the message of hope and healing. Your support, in no matter how small, makes all the difference. It is your energy, your belief in this message, that fuels this channel and allows us to share these divine truths with the world. Thank you, from the depths of my heart, for being part of this journey. You are not alone. Together, we will rise from the ashes, stronger, more connected, and more deeply aligned with the divine purpose that guides us all. And as you walk this path, remember that the storm is never the end. It is only the beginning.